Hello, and welcome to tonight's call with Congressman Jonathan Jackson. During the call, we'll be taking questions from constituents like you. To ask a question, please press star 3. You may also sign up for our newsletter by pressing star 6 at any time during the call. Again, please press star 3 now to ask a question, or star 6 to subscribe to our newsletter. With that, I'll now turn it over to Congressman Jonathan Jackson.
How are you? And I thank you so much for tuning in this evening. I would like to share with you some very pressing issues and some concerns that are confronting us all. What we have right now is we're in the midst of a trade war, if you will. In some ways, it was unprovoked, and in many ways, it was unnecessary. Like to first mention something to the farmers and then to the persons in Medicaid and also people that have given many calls regarding the SNAP benefits, as well as people that have concerns about the shutdown. And we'll have an opportunity to go through some of these. I'm going to respond to some of the questions that people had texted in, and there will be an opportunity to go live on some other questions. When I say the trade war was unprovoked, it was April 2nd of 2025 when President Trump, entering his second year in office, says we were going to have this day of liberation, that we were going to create tariffs, that tariffs is his favorite word. And on that day, I shuddered when I heard him say that there were going to be tariffs put around countries around the world. And what was the consequence of that? Well, America is 4.5% of the world's population, and we are 18% of the world's economy. On that day, he told 95.5% of the world's population that we were going to do what is might is right. We were going to go it alone. And the heart of economics is about cooperation. When you say that you're first, nobody wants to go last. Everybody thinks of themselves as a whole human being. I'm like, this is not setting the stage for mutual cooperation and mutual benefits. And so that was start of the of his trade. And then you started seeing trade on, trade off. It didn't make much sense. I believe it was generated with GPT. There were islands and other people that had trade uh, surpluses with us that were penalized, and people that had trade deficits. They were told that they would have a tariff, and the consequence of that first started with the farmers. I had the opportunity to go out into Polo, Illinois, this past spring with the Farm Bureau president, Mr. Duncan, and I was on a combine, and we planted the corn. The rain was a little late coming this year, and but finally everything caught on and it's caught up. And I've been watching the corn and the soy market all summer long, and I was trying to find out when the buyers and the purchasers were going to start. And I started hearing the rumblings that there was not going to be any corn purchases from China. And they have a saying in the farm country: if you can't sell it, the soy, you're going to smell it, because they also use that corn to sell to the hogs. Illinois has the largest amount of hog productions in the United States. Well, since the Chinese were once buying 60% of all of our corn, now they're buying nothing, zero. And so our corn is stuck in bins, it's overflowing. Our farmers are now going bankrupt at 60 farmers per day. And at the same time, Mr. Trump and Secretary Bessent has found $40 billion to give to Argentina. They did all this hoopla in the springtime about cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. I've got to look up, because I still don't understand how the president digs in a pocket or a bucket and gets $40 billion without any congressional oversight or approval to give to a foreign country. And so our farming sector is in crisis. So that's something that we're going to have to deal with. The first check is going to be at least $20 billion. I'm estimating it's going to be up to 50 billion that's going to be owed to farmers just to keep them afloat as a way of life in America. When Trump did this in 2019, he did this in 2018. The The Chinese stopped purchasing, and over the years after he left, under the Biden administration, they slowly went back up, but it never recovered to the historic levels that they had before. And so now there's long-term damage. Um, Brazil is further away to China than the United States, and yet because they don't have tariffs on with China, it's cheaper for the Chinese economy and Chinese government to buy the soybeans. The Argentinian economy, they've gotten into the soy production and they've dropped their tariffs, and China reciprocated and dropped theirs. So now they're selling cheaper. So we're subsidizing them and they're taking our product, locking our farmers out. That's an issue. Another issue on the SNAP, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. We have a issue of growing malnutrition in the United States of America, sometimes overfed and undernourished. There is not enough access to fresh produce in many parts of our country, in the rural communities as well as in the inner city communities. If you look at life expectancy, in many of those places, in certain ethnic groups and in the female gender, the life expectancy is decreasing for white females in rural America and for African American males in the inner city. It is a growing challenge. So we have enough to, we don't have the proper means by which we have allocated our resources to feed people. We have a food crisis. If you look at the average weight of the average American today in 2025 versus 1975, 50 years ago, if the average American today weighed what the average American weighed 50 years ago, that would save $1 trillion in our healthcare system. Obesity is a lingering issue. Many of our children are overfed and undernourished. It is in our healthcare and our national interest to make sure that we have fresh foods and fresh produce. We should talk about food security. One of the bills that I proposed in this one big ugly bill that was put forth in the 4th of July was I serve on the Ag Committee, and I said, let's make sure that we keep in place the able body without children provision. Don't raise the work requirement age to the age of 64, but that was not successful. And so now they've said that if you have children at home that are under the age of 14, and if you are and you don't have dependents and you're over the age of 64, you're going to have to work. And I think it was very cruel. And so that's going to be an ongoing problem. Some parts and regions of the city and the country simply don't have work, and the transportation grid does not afford people to get to work, or some people may have to be caregivers for their families or for a dependent child. And so this bill was hurried and rushed through. It was poorly thought through. It was not debated. There is no debate. When you look at the Affordable Care Act, there were debates, and you can see amendments, and you can see Democrats made amendments and Republicans made amendments. And this one ugly billionaire bill, there were no amendments accepted by any Democrats. It was passed purely on a partisan basis, which brings us to the shutdown today on Medicaid. What's happening with the Medicaid shutdown? Under the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, there were subsidies. The subsidies were supposed to expire after 10 years. The Republicans are holding firm to that. That's what their argument would be. But this product has become enormously popular, particularly with entrepreneurs and single family persons that have to buy their own insurance. If this insurance is not restored, if this subsidy is not restored, replaced, you will see upwards of 16 to 22 million people being kicked off of the healthcare system. Why is there such a wide discrepancy in the number? It's because the product is growing, and there's going to be some unintended people after the product begins to spike aren't going to be able to pay their insurance. So it'll be another wave of people. First will be the phase of people that are going to be disqualified. Then there's going to be a wave of people that are going to see their premiums soar. That's already taking place. I'm hearing from people that were paying $800 a month that are now paying $1,900 a month. that need life-saving medicine. What do the Democrats want? Restore the funding back to the Medicaid program. There are people that cannot work that want to work. People are trying to volunteer. It was just too much, too fast. It's too brutal. And it's also going to bankrupt the qualified healthcare centers as well as hospitals. And there's a growing homelessness. I didn't realize that homelessness is also a contributing factor to the hospitalization. That if people have no place to go and they get sick, and it's indigent care, they have to go to the hospital, that the hospital has a level of liability. They can't put the person out on the street and they can't afford to keep them in there. So you could be looking at a tidal wave of bankruptcies that can break the healthcare system. And so the Democrats, it went through without any Democratic votes in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, the way this bipartisan process is supposed to work is with 60 votes, they're supposed to be able to pass this bill. Four Democrats, three or four Democrats have voted in support of this, and the others are holding firm. It's really a line that we cannot get on. Um, Too many people will get hurt. They say, well, that's Medicaid. And some people don't know that they're on Medicaid. Medicaid has many different names. It's the same product, but it also has private companies that wrap this insurance product. And so it could be called CHIPS. In California, it's called SoCal. It's not called Medicaid per se. The Medicaid program has 80 million people in it, 16 to 22 million people could be kicked off of it. We all are going to need health care. Do we need some health care reform? Absolutely. But this is not the way to do it. And on the last part on this, we talked about the SNAP and the tariffs and the Medicaid. And what's happening now on this shutdown? Let me just read through a few questions right here. Helen from Chicago asked, when will the government shutdown end? I have no good idea. I would just imagine, since part of the president's tactic is to show how cruel he can be, I would imagine that since he had a 35-day shutdown before, he would look forward to breaking that record. How will this be different? When he had the previous shutdown, the way the funding, the appropriation measure works is the bills that we are paying today, the money was allocated last year in 2024 before President Trump was elected. He has cut the funding off and held up the funding of, of appropriations of money that had already been earmarked. So the money is cutting off sooner. In the previous, he wasn't pulling those levers, and so the money was still flowing, so you didn't feel it as severely. That's why you're talking about a drop off in SNAP benefits come the first of November and other things, and people in the aviation, they may be going through cutbacks or not able to get to work. So this is very severe, and that's a problem, and that's what's unique about this. LaChandra from Cook County asked, how is the government shutdown affecting Illinois? It's going to affect us across the board from state parks. We've got Middlewind National Park and the first congressional district. One other thing that's really cool about the first district, if you haven't been there, there's a park called Middlewind. It used to be an ammunition facility, and it's just north of Wilmington, Illinois, about 45 minutes south from the city. They turned 20,000 acres back over to natural prairies and to the natural greenlands before modernization and all this industrialization, and they've restored it to its nature. There's 74 bison. Yes, bison, the largest animal in North America, are at the Meadowland Park. So people that want to go to our great state and our great national parks, they've been closed. You're going to see that in food inspectors and people that work in the HUD and people that work in government agencies. If you're coming into our office now and you have issues with the Veterans Administration, or if you have issues with the State Department, when we try to put your information into our computer, the State Department and the Veterans Administration says we cannot take any more inquiries and provide any more service at this time. So the basic functions of government and us being able to do your casework has been stopped. Nancy from Cook County asked, what negotiations are happening between Democrat and Republicans? None at the moment, unfortunately. Janet, are Democrats committed to holding the line on the shutdown? I certainly am. And this is now in the hands of the Senate. So continue to call your senators, put pressure on them, tell them to hold the line. It's out of the House of Representatives with the Congress and it's into the Senate. So tell them to hold the line. And also you can call Republican senators as well and tell them to stop what they're doing, return all the funds back to the Medicaid. Quentin from Auburn Gresham, and what can we do about the government shutdown? Nothing at this moment per se, but you can register and vote. We have to overwhelm the polls. For those of you that came out to the No Kings March, congratulations. You have to come out. There's going to be upcoming marches. Please participate. There was not one arrest, there was not one incident at the march in downtown Chicago. I was there this past week. Please come out. We need civic engagement. Janelle from Cook County asks, how can we help you as our congressperson? Register and vote. That's got to be an individual, that's got to be a family value. We would not have this problem if more people had come out and vote. I believe Vice President Harris had 77 million, and Mr. Trump might have had 78.5 million votes. It was a 1.5 million vote difference. It was an 800,000 vote difference in those 7 states. 90 million people did not vote. So, in many ways, none of the above won. So, please make sure you register. It's your civic duty. Get your family, loved ones, everyone must vote and be a part of the process. Let me see. Miranda from Chicago asks, what federal resources are available to furloughed federal government employees? Please go to our website, and there are some links there that can show you where there's additional services and support. So at this time, let's open up for some questions. There are many questions on here, but I also want to take live questions. And I thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you, Congressman. And to those of you just joining us, good evening and welcome to tonight's call. If you'd like to ask a question, please press star 3. Also, if you would like to sign up for the Congressman's newsletter, you could do that by pressing star 6 at any time during the call. We'll move to a question from our first caller. Our first caller is Max. Max, you're live on the call with Congressman Jackson. Please go ahead with your question.
God bless you, Congressman, and thank you so much for hosting this town hall for us and for all the vital information that you continue to provide to our community. My question is
Thank you, Max.
a little different. There was a class action lawsuit against AstraZeneca and several other companies. This suit was settled a little over 3 years ago. However, it has not been paid out, and many of the plaintiffs are part of our congressional district. They are telling us that it is now being vetted for Medicare reimbursement. In other words, if there are people who have had services regarding their conditions involved in Medicare or who have Medicare cases, then Medicare, of course, wants their funds back. Usually, that process, once the settlement is completed, it usually only takes a couple months for that. It's been 3 years. And with the cutbacks and everything that we're facing right now, and by the way, hold out until the very end. Hold out, man. God bless you. God strengthen you. And God strengthen those of us who are going to be affected by these cuts and whatnot. Please strengthen us. But hold out until the end, man. Don't give in. But I'm wondering if there's any way that you or your staff can check and verify the fact that they're actually still in the vetting process through Medicare, or is Big Pharma holding out on these funds, collecting interest until the last second?
Max, if you would do me the favor, I'm going to need you to. I couldn't hear the name of the lawsuit that you had said. It was Glax. What was the name of the lawsuit?
AstraZeneca, AstraZeneca,
AstraZeneca.
right?
AstraZeneca. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you call into our office here in Chicago at 773-779-2400, or if you leave a message in the chat, let me look into that and get back to you. Okay. I'm not familiar with that
The
lawsuit, but I will look into it.
yeah.
Thank you, Max.
Okay, thank you for the question, Max, and thank you, Congressman. We'll move to our next question. Our next question comes from Derek, who joins us from Chicago. Derek, you're live on the call. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Well, I was going to Congress. Thank you, Congressman, for allowing me to be on the line with you. But however, I would like to know, in order for the Democrats to be able to take back the seat in the Congress, how many votes is actually needed? Because I see the Arizona, they won't swear her in. So I know that's 218. What is the number that we need to be able to have complete control of the House?
I believe the number now is 3 votes shy. So one is the representatives from Arizona, Guerrero. Um, there's something that they're doing, sandbagging, if you will, stonewalling. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, that served in Houston, Texas, was succeeded by then Mayor Sylvester Turner. Mayor Sylvester Turner died in February of this year, 2025. Governor Greg Abbott has not put the seat back up for an election. So the people in Houston, unfortunately, do not have a representative because the governor will not put that seat. We're going to have some serious election reform. But we did a pickup in Virginia. And so I think we're like 3 votes shy right now. And if I can give you one piece of history behind that, I was sworn in the 118th Congress. There were 3 Democrats that were my classmates. North Carolina tends to vote 50-50, Republican and Democrat. They've got 14 congressional seats. Um, they had 7 Democrats and 7 Republicans. The Republicans did a redistricting and did the gerrymandering, and they took out Congressman Wiley Nichols, Congressman Jeff Jackson, and Congresswoman Kathy Manning. When they took those 3 seats, that were the 3 votes we needed to have a majority, and we would have had the first African American Speaker of the House and Leader Hakeem Jeffries. So what they can't win in the polls and in the people, they do through these election schemes of gerrymandering and taking votes, trying to carve up the seats. So that's why we have to vote in record numbers and overwhelm the polls.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next caller is Gianna, who joins us from Chicago. Gianna, you're live with Congressman Jackson. Please go ahead with your question.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi there.
Okay, excellent. Congressman, thank you for the information in the call. I do appreciate it. I am a new resident of Illinois as of 2020, and just since I've been here, and I'm in the Hyde Park area, I have seen too many ICE persons throughout Chicago harassing the immigrants that are coming here. And I'm just wondering, they're talking about Illinois is going red, and they're doing so much with Trump and allowing the ICE persons and the coming here and harassing people that are actually just trying to work and pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And I'm just wondering what is Illinois doing, Pritzker and um, Mayor Johnson, everybody, just what's going on? Like, where do we stand? Because they seem to be picking up all different like background people, and no matter if they're hardworking or what they're doing, citizens or not. But what's going on with that? And how are we handling that where people can feel safe to even taking their children to school?
Thank you so much. This ICE agency is so cruel. They've gone into homeless shelters to get people. They went into off of Archer Avenue and took a wonderful, sweet older lady that I've known to have been selling corn over there for 20 years. When they brought those sophisticated helicopters over into the South Shore area, it was like a war zone night. I met a veteran there 2 days after the raid, if you will, the incursion by the United States Armed Services on 75th and South Shore, in a bankrupt building where some of the poorest people in the country and the city lived. They kicked the doors in, did tear gas, zip tied children, zip tied women. It was just awful, and even kicked in the doors of American citizens. To the people that don't think or are indifferent about what's happening to the migrant community, this can happen to you. This is against the United States law. This is against specifically the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878. You can't put American troops on American soil um, to go against American citizens without the local jurisdiction, without the state, without the mayor asking for it. And so they took 36 or 37 people out of that building. I don't know where they took them. It's not like somebody gets arrested in an ICE raid or an ICE kidnapping and you can talk with anybody with these masked men. I don't know why they have to hide their face unless they're full of shame. And so they've taken these women and children, and we just don't know. I've tried to go to here on 24th and Michigan Avenue to a processing center where people are looking into migrate to their visa issues, and with Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy, and we were denied entrance. The ICE agent, this little hoodlum, I guess, can't show his face. I don't like people going around too much with the mask on their face or the hoods over their face. Like, show your face and talk. And he wouldn't. He called the police on us. It's our job as a federal agency, as federal officials, to go into a federal facility and ask questions. And the police came and they said, Congressman, we don't know what to do. You all work it out. We'll be outside. And I walked outside and saw two young Hispanic men, and they were in soldiers' uniform. I didn't know if they were with the National Guard or what brought them out. And I think they were the Reyes brothers. And I introduced myself and I asked him, what brings you here today? And he says, we just wanted to make sure that our mother was able to leave safely. And it brought tears to my eyes. These young men are willing to give their life for this nation, and and they're willing to die in that uniform. And they were concerned about their mother being kidnapped and not being treated fairly or being put in a humane area. So that hurt. And to be in South Shore to see a veteran tell me that his PTSD had been triggered and that he couldn't talk for 2 days, and he relived Desert Storm all over again with tear gas and all the commotion, and to see children on the ground. He says you can't treat human beings like the way they've done this. And so I think there's a level of frustration and anger. And I've seen people go out, not only come to the march, but people also carrying whistles. that when you see these ICE agents to start blowing the whistle, some level of defiance on my block, uh, the next block south of my house this past week while we were at the No Kings rally, two gardeners, landscapers, they were arrested. I'm trying to find them now. So in all, I think I'm trying to find 17 people. I went out to Broadview with Congressman Danny Davis and Congressman Chuy Garcia and Congresswoman Dahlia Ramirez, and we were denied access to talk with any officials. That's where the minister was pepper sprayed. I was out in South Shore with Congresswoman Robin Kelly, and she was concerned. And as many citizens were coming up, citizens, I'm not talking about the migrant community, citizens had their doors kicked in. You need to have a search warrant. You need to have probable cause. There is a doctrine on your house is your castle, your home is your castle. So they're breaking U.S. law. So we have to be concerned and we have to come out and demonstrate.
Thank you, Congressman. I'd like to remind everyone that if you would like to sign up for the Congressman's newsletter, you can press *6 at any time. Again, that's *6 to get on our email update list or our newsletter. Our next caller is Kimberly, who joins us from Chicago. Kimberly, you're live on the call with Congressman Jackson. Please go ahead with your question.
Good evening, Congressman Jackson. How are you?
Wonderful. And yourself?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking. My question and concern is for the demolition of the White House. I mean, isn't that the people's house? What steps are being taken to stop him? Because if I listened to the news correctly, the construction is going to take at least 2-3 more years. And isn't he supposed to be gone in 2 to 3 more years? I mean, what steps are being taken to stop him? If you listen to his lies, he said that, it would, won't affect the structure of the White House. Well, you see part of it torn down. What steps are being taken? I guess that's the ultimate question. What's being done to stop him?
Well, nothing is being done to stop him. We have been in session, days of voting, 14 days out of the last 140 days now since the end of July. Speaker Johnson has not called us back into session and has basically kept us out of Washington, D.C. And I'm sure I've got to look into it at our next town hall. I'll be glad to give you an update on that. There's so many things I'm trying to find out that this man is doing. It's like it's unreal. So yes, I can't help but think about when the press lost their mind, and you see their prejudice when First Lady Michelle Obama wanted to plant some vegetables in the yard of the White House. Of the press ought to be ashamed of themselves, the way they sensationalize that. Now this man has paved over the Rose Garden, put $1.9 million worth of concrete, and is going to build a $200 million ballroom. And I'm sure there's some architectural, historical site requirements, but that's just brazen. And there was no thoughts of it. And he's done that on several issues. So I have no idea. I was horrified when I saw that building being demolished. But he thinks he has absolute right. And I don't know why some of our senators had confirmed the president having the attorney general and the head of FBI, knowing that he was capable. And he told them, the president told them, the attorney general works for me, which isn't the case. The attorney general works for the people. He said, no, this is my attorney general. And but we've got to rein him in. He's got 39 months to go, so we're only in like month 9 of this presidency. Yeah, and there are laws on the books. I would have to look at it, but there's all sort of architectural preservation rules and things that you can't do and deface government property.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next caller is Courtney, who joins us from Evergreen Park. Courtney, you're live on the call. Please go ahead with your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How about you, Congressman?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you for letting me ask the questions. Is this shutdown going to affect the unemployment recipients too?
I don't know. I didn't think it would. But if you could call into the office and I can answer that, we've got another town hall coming up this coming Tuesday at Chicago State. Let me see what time is that event. It's on. We've got another town hall coming up on at Chicago State. What is this? Um, Let me get that for you. It's this coming Tuesday. It'll be in person as well as online. Can someone get me the information for Chicago State, what time and the building? And I can answer your question. And you can also call our office tomorrow at 773-779-2400 or 6 to 7 on 9501 South King Drive. What hall is that in? And then, but you can also call our office now. We're fully staffed in here, and I will be glad to look into that for you. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you, Congressman. The next call comes from Jacqueline, who joins us from Blue Island. Jacqueline, you're live on the call with Congressman Jackson. Please go ahead with your question.
Thank you. Hi, Congressman. Mine is
Hi there.
more of a hi. Mine is more of a call to action for those of us on the grassroots. What can we do since so much around us is breaking and tumbling down? I was telling your staff that I'm seeing the effects of healthcare across the country. I work for a national broker, and we specialize on Medicare, and the people that are being affected are all of us: pink, black, brown, white. He is affecting all of us, and he's like you. I jumped on when you were talking about Medicaid. Not only are people losing Medicaid, but our elderly, the people that are Medicare eligible, those with disabilities, are losing benefits. Their copays are going from $0 to $25 to $85. Unheard of. What can we do as a society, as a people? And we are already doing something. We're protesting. We're making the calls. We're working, the phone banks. What else can we do?
Well, thank you so much. I would hope if you would uh, grant me the privilege of talking to you personally, if you call our number 773-779-2400. I would like to get more information from you. You're on the front line. You know more about what's happening in the rates and premiums, and I would love to find out the stories that you are seeing. I had mentioned it. Let me repeat it. We have to have massive voter registration. You've got to call in to the United States House of Representatives. Please feel free to do that. That number is 202 225 what's that 21 or 4151. 202 225 4151. Call the Republican senators and let them know that we need um, these subsidies returned. Now, some people would say we've got national debt, we've got a deficit, we can't afford to do this. That's simply not true. All the hoopla and all the animation that Mr. Elon Musk did, the richest man in the world, with gloating with that chainsaw on cutting services to the poorest people in our nation, was absolutely shameful. And what did they end up doing? He says there were $2 trillion of waste, fraud, and abuse. Where is it? Then he rescaled it, he retraded and said there's $1 trillion of waste, fraud, and abuse. And then he says, Then by the time he left, when he and Trump, their egos were too big to be in the same room, he says, we found $150 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse. Who got arrested? Where are the cases? It wasn't true. And now you're going to have this, and they've created more damage, and they're going to run up more expenses. Our debt is higher, our deficit is higher. They offered no economic benefits. They passed off $5 trillion in tax cuts. You give tax cuts when you finish paying for education, health care, and all the vital services your society needs. This bill was disproportionately give more tax benefits to the wealthiest people. And I just want to say something about the order of magnitude. We talk about millions, billions, and trillions as if they are one and the same. No, they're not. They passed off $5 trillion in tax benefits, tax relief to the wealthiest people in the country. And if you have a million seconds, that's 11.7 days. If you've got a billion seconds, billion with a B, that's 31 years. If you've got a trillion seconds, that's 31,000 years. The order of magnitude is staggering. The amount of money they passed off is staggering. We could have put that money and put it right back into the Affordable Care Plan. That's what we're asking for. That's at the heart of this government shutdown. You've taken money from the poor and have given it to the rich. That's why the Democrats have held the line on shutting the government down, because Illinois, we're going to lose a minimum of 6 hospitals. I've got the most safety net hospitals in the nation in my district, here in the Illinois' first congressional district, in the heart of the city. Half of those hospitals will close. They will decimate the healthcare system. That's why we're saying no. We have nothing else to give. We cannot negotiate. You've got to return. You can't leave people abandoned.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next question comes from Kokis, who joins us from Evergreen Park. You're live on the call with the Congressman. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes, good evening, Congressman. I'd like to know,
Good evening.
and please, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good evening. Right there.
Ma'am, you're live on the call. You can go ahead with your question. We hear you loud and clear. Congressman, it looks like we can't quite get through to her, but I do have her question here, and she asks, how is it that Speaker Johnson and others are being paid during the shutdown while others are furloughed?
I don't have any good answer for that. I have voluntarily signed a statement that I've asked for my paycheck to be held up until all the other workers' pay is also made. I think that ought to be a rule. I think people at the White House and at the Supreme Court all ought to have the same uh, pain. We should all be in this together. It shouldn't be where the executives in the White House and people in the Supreme Court, we're supposed to be co-equal branches of government. Everybody should be in this boat together. I think it would make us a better country, have the same service. I don't think they should cut down on, tell us to cut down on our staff levels, people that are actually doing the constituent services, saying that they're non-essential. Providing services to the district is essential. I think the president's budget ought to be cut, the Supreme Court budgets ought to be cut, and not just the House of Representatives. I'm going to look into seeing if we can pass a bill on that. If they ever do a shutdown in the future, that the president may have to carry his own luggage.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next call comes from Julie, who joins us from Orland Park. Julie, you're live on the call. Please go ahead with your question.
Good evening, Congressman. Thank you for taking my call. My
Thank you, Julie.
concern is the elections next year. I mean, that's our last hope to regain the House or the Senate. And I just feel that with all the things that he's already done, do you really see him wanting to give up the White House or the House? I mean, I'm afraid that besides the gerrymandering and all the other things they're doing with the military, I'm very fearful for the next election, if we even get to have one.
Um, Julie, please do not be fearful. I understand your concerns, and like we're going to pull through this, and every cloud runs out of rain sometime. Um, and for people that didn't see that the president's values were poor, he didn't have any commitment to the working class, and some people simply had gotten fooled, and he might have had a brilliant marketing scheme and plan, but his substance is going to fail. You're going to find out ultimately his economic vision and plan is inept. It will not work. The farmers are feeling it here in Illinois and in Missouri and in Kansas and in Arkansas. We're going through a record number of bankruptcies. And so people are showing up, 7 million people. It delighted my heart that 250,000 plus minimum showed up to come to the streets in the city of Chicago. In Trump won districts, they are coming out in huge numbers. I think there's another march coming up maybe on November 3rd. Please come out and participate. This is where we get an opportunity to see who we really are. Bring your children and grandchildren out. This is called civic engagement. He's testing the limits of the system and its power, but we can win. We will win, and I am highly confident of that. Being close and upfront with it in Washington, D.C., this reminds me of the play of King Lear. It's a bunch of greedy, very wealthy people in this administration that don't have a heart for the people. And I know the good people are going to win out. They're going to cannibalize themselves. You wait and watch and see what I'm telling you. And his economic policies are going to fail. He tried to talk down to China. China told him he can eat all of his own soybean and corn. He's hurting us all. 60% of our fruits and vegetables are imported. Why is he going to put a tariff on our fruits and our vegetables? He's making the food prices skyrocket, and some people are going to come back to their greater senses. And things are leaking. You saw those racist tweets that were divulged. um, More people are coming to speak up. I have a lot of faith in humanity, and I am very hopeful. But we have to keep working at it. So stay encouraged, Julie. He will be leaving.
Thank you, sir. We'll head back to Blue Island and take a call from Ruthie. Ruthie, you're live on the call with Congressman Jackson. Please go ahead with your question.
Ruthie.
Hi, Congressman. Thank you very much for hosting this town hall and bringing some historical perspective. What I'd like to ask is, what are the Democrats doing to boost voter turnout? And my second part is, do you think there will be a vote in 2026? But I just heard you respond to the other lady, so you don't have to respond to that part.
Yep. What are they doing? I've got some serious concerns about what our party is doing. Um, in some ways, it feels like it's one party with two different names. You always hear about raising money, raising money. Yeah, sure, money has to be raised, but I want to see people. I want to get a commitment from the party where we can go out and full-time register people to vote. I've seen my father at the height of Reagan's presidency flip the Senate with massive voter registration drives. We can win by the margin of people that are disaffected, that people that have not voted. Again, it might have been 77 million to vote for Vice President Harris, 78.5 million to vote for President Trump. 90 million people did not vote. I mean, it's a system, it's not perfect, but it can work. We have to overwhelm the polls. And I think people are seeing Mr. Trump for who he really is. This level of vendetta and vindictiveness going after Letitia James, who did her job, that exposed a fraud that he had committed in New York. Mr. Bolton, that says he disagrees with his national security policy. Mr. Comey, that and his daughter, that simply were doing their job when they saw the nefarious schemes that he had going on. So it doesn't seem like a lot is happening, but I'm highly confident. And right now, we have to be thankful for our judiciary system. The federal court system is pushing back, and so the federal court system in our district says no, you cannot. That you have to have cameras on the ICE agents, and no, you cannot put those National Guard troops on the street. The Portland case, it went against us, but there's a serious firewall in the federal judiciary that I am excited to see. He's got over 200, I think, and 70 court cases going on right now as we speak. It's unbelievable. So stay encouraged. And if you can, call the United States House of Representatives, ask to speak with the Republican senator. The Democratic senators are doing their part. And believe me, when our phones start ringing and those emails start coming, people definitely remember. Call the elected official and say, hey, I'm going to run against you. They'll get the message.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next call comes from Chicago. We have Tammy on the line. Tammy, you're live on the call with Congressman Jackson.
Hi,
Please go ahead with your question.
Hi, thank you so very much, Congressman, for taking my call, and thank you so much for what you're doing. Stay the course. Do not move. Do not. We shall overcome. I am a little despaired, sometimes it makes me wonder, with all of the cuts and everything that are happening, are we headed, because he's doing what he want to do up in here, are we headed towards slavery again? You after a while, we're going to feel like you're going to cut our power and cut our gas, and no money's going to be deposited in our bank accounts, and we work every day. Are we headed towards slavery again? Like, this is very fearful, especially with these people snatching up everyone of every ethnicity now. Children, 12 and 13-year-old African-American boys. When did we start doing that? When did we start doing that?
No, thank you so much, Tammy. Well, he is trying to roll back the hands of time. When he cited the removal of diversity, equity, inclusion, he cited the 14th Amendment, amendment that was expressively passed for African Americans that had finished slavery after the 13th Amendment, abolishing slavery, the 14th Amendment that was for equal protection under the law, meaning for African Americans to have equal protection since they did not have the jurisprudence and the governance in place to enforce that level of security within the law. Then the 15th Amendment guaranteeing the right to vote. Well, he's saying that African Americans are discriminating against Caucasians and that DEI has been a disaster. No, Pete Hegseth is a disaster. Segregation, discrimination, and racism is a disaster. He's trying to be divisive, but we have more in common than we have in conflict. The farmers, we are a part of you. The migrant community, you have a right to be treated humanely. Citizens, you have a right not to have your doors kicked in. People that need health care, you have a right for the government to offer assistance. I believe the government should step in when people cannot do for themselves. And when people can do for them, the government ought to get out of the way. We believe in a work ethic, but he's trying to tell people in the rural community, the people in the inner city are taking your money and your food. He's trying to tell people in the city, it's the migrants that took something from you. He is just very divisive. And so we have to build a stronger coalition and come out of this reaffirming one another's humanity, and we'll be the better people for it. So I am hopeful, and I'm seeing that he is uniting us and bringing us closer together. And so once and for all, we can defeat bigotry and racism and anti-Semitism and Islamophobia that we can go forward and forge a better future together. So I see hope.
Thank you, Congressman. I'd like to thank you all for your questions this evening. As it turns out, we're nearing the end of the hour, and soon we'll have to say farewell. But before that happens, I'd like to turn it back over to Congressman Jackson for his closing thoughts. Congressman?
Well, I thank you so much, and I'm sorry I could not answer more questions on this platform. Next week, from 6 to 7 or 6 to 8 at Chicago State, we're going to have an in-person town hall, and we will be on the social media platforms. Again, you can reach us on our office number here in district at 773-779-2400, 773-779-2400. And I also would look forward to you coming out to 95th and King Drive in Chicago. And also call our office if there's a town hall in a township that you would like for us to come. Be more than happy, love to share with you and answer all the questions that you have and follow up on things that you've brought to my attention. In the meantime, stay encouraged, stay patriotic. Demonstrating is one of the highest forms of patriotism. Uh, Together, we're going to be better and stronger. This is producing, in the worst of times that the president is creating, you're going to see the best of people come out. Unfortunately, you're going to see some of the ugliness in people, but the good people are also going to shine. And so people are going to have some food issues, some health issues. So it's going to force us to be more neighborly, more caring. And so I'm going to do my best to make this a better country and a better world. And so I thank you so much. Thank you for letting me be your congressman. And I hope to see you on this coming Tuesday at 6 p.m. at Chicago State University on 95th and King Drive Avenue. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you, Congressman. And thank you all for joining tonight's telephone town hall with Congressman Jonathan Jackson. You can follow the Congressman on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Blue Sky to stay up to date with his work in Congress. If you haven't spoken to a member of our team yet about subscribing to his e-newsletter, please stay on the line. At the sound of the tone, spell out your name and email address slowly. Thank you again for joining us tonight, and have a good evening.